So, Ratio. On his first banner, as everyone I assume, was given out for free, and he's gonna be free for like I don't know, a couple weeks. For anyone who log in. And so, what do I think about him? Well, if you even care about that, but um, honestly, I don't like Ratio that much. It's not that he's a bad character. He's better than most. Well, actually, he kind of is a bad character, but well, to my standards, he's better than most 4 stars. But like, he doesn't have the longevity that characters like Jinglu and Dan Heng Il have. So while he's free and that's like infinite value, um, if you invest in him, it's not really gonna be a worthwhile investment. So first, let's start with the good. Okay, of course, he's free, so there's that, I guess. But with his skills, his whenever he launches his skill, he has a chance with his talent to what's it called, to launch a follow-up attack. And if he does, at level 10, with the talent and the skill, it'll deal a total, well, sorry, it'll have a motion value of 420%, which is pretty good since some characters have, like, ults are at around, like, 300%. So, yeah, that's pretty good. I think it's higher, it's around Seal's ultimate too, but, yeah. He also has, decent scaling, where if he uses, his skill for every debuff on the target, he gains crit rate and crit damage, and it stacks up to 6 times, but this buff does not, what's it called, dispel. So it's like a maximum, which you'll almost always reach the maximum. He'll reach a maximum of 15% crit rate and 30% crit damage. So that's pretty good. And with his this bonus ability, for every debuff on the enemy, he gains a 10% damage bonus up to a maximum of 50%, which is pretty good. His skill and follow-up attack also has decent weakness break ability because his skill has like a weakness break of like twice compared to a basic attack, but his follow-up attack is equivalent. Its weakness break is equivalent to the basic attack. So in general, you'll be doing like three basic attacks worth of weakness break, if you can understand that. Because it's also multi-hit, the skill and the follow-up attack. It's great because he works well with Luocha and Hanya. Well, he doesn't. Well, in terms of actually a team comp with Hanya, not. But like, I'll get into that later. Being multi-hit with Luocha allows him to heal himself and the team really, really well. I was going to say Luocha. Ratio is very, very fragile for some reason. It's probably because he's Hunt, but usually if he's 58, he can attack twice and then he'll heal like 50% of his HP. With Hanya, Hanya's burden also requires multiple hits to activate the SP regeneration, so a single follow-up attack and a skill from Ratio is enough to trigger burden, and because Hanya is very, very fast, Hanya's able to constantly spam her skill, so now, the next issue, it's that he's Hunt. Now, I don't need to go on a tangent why single target damage is absolute dog water. If you think single target damage is good, Lamau. The next thing, or like sub issue, is light cone options. Hunt doesn't really have that many good light cone options for free to play, especially since because Ratio really wants follow-up damage. You're not really given anything that's like best in slot. Stellar C is probably like the best you could choose because he's extremely reliant, as I've said, on critting. So you want to like put a bunch of crit rate on him so you're consistent. But like it comes at a huge damage loss for me. So it's like I don't know. A swordplay is the best that I've found. It gives you a lot of damage because it's like 50% maximum. Okay. Oh yeah, another thing on Hunt. Pure Fiction. Pure Fiction does not benefit Hunt in any way whatsoever. If you're using Hunt in Pure Fiction, either Lamau actually. So what about his value proposition? If you put him with 4 stars, it's rough. He does not have any good 4-star team options. The best 4-star team options I could make was Pella and Gwynephen, because Gwynephen applies 2 debuffs: Fire Kiss, which increases the amount of damage an enemy takes, and Burn. Now, Burn is not there to deal damage. Burn is there just to be a DOT, and that also counts as a debuff. So, and I also put Resolution just to stick as much damage on him as much as possible, but it still doesn't feel nice because she's not a dedicated follow up attack buffer or like debuffer whatsoever. Um, Pella, if I don't need to go on a tangent on why Pella's good. Pella's like one of the most generic characters in the game. She's good in most scenarios because she's good in AoE and she's good in Blast. She's not good as good as single target compared to Silverwolf, but I'd rather take the flexibility of Blast and AoE. So plus she's very SP positive. So yeah. Now because of Ratio's requirement of supports needing to apply a debuff, you're locked out of using Tinian and Hanya, which really sucks because from what I've tested, if you are able to consistently land a follow-up attack, Hanya's very good for him. As I mentioned literally a bunch ago, like oh Burden. She also has her ult. Her ult's also pretty good because it increases oh that's the talent. Yeah, increases speed and it also increases attack. So that's pretty good. Unfortunately, Burden is not counted as a debuff, so you can't use Hanya unless you already have multiple debuffs. But yeah, the 5-star options for Ratio is not good either. There's only Silverwolf and Topaz. Silverwolf is nice because she applies a lot of debuffs to consistently proc a follow-up attack along with maxing out Ratio's damage bonus with his follow-up. But the problem is that Silverwolf is an extremely niche 5-star support. It'll take a lot of time for her to apply all of her bugs, but like Pella's a lot better in more situations than single target, right? And Pella's a lot more uh accessible, you know. As I mentioned before, Pella's better in AOE and single target. But if you're compared to five star to 5-star, Silverwolf to Ruan Mei is like a landslide because Ruan Mei is far better. She's far more consistent and doesn't require you to do this garbage with Silverwolf's weakness add where you have to connect 4 rather than matching up characters who synergize with each other based on their kit. But no, colors. Whoa! So Topaz is probably his best in slot support because Topaz, I do remember, applies a debuff. I don't remember what it's called, but it increases the amount of damage enemies take from follow-up attacks. Now, I can't confirm if it's what's it called, vulnerability to follow-up attacks, or if it's damage bonus with follow-up attacks. Yeah, I hate Hoya's wording, but here's the problem: Topaz is also an extremely niche support. Follow-up attacks are mostly erudition and AoE class, but Topaz is hunt. What? And Topaz only increases follow-up damage to one enemy, so it's like, uh, uh. With all of this, Ratio doesn't really have that much like value to your account. The 4-stars and 5-stars that he can use are extremely niche to the point where it doesn't really improve your count at all. And if you wanted to pull a 5-star to improve his performance, it nullifies his value as a free unit. Sure, you could say, "Oh, hey, if I pull this 5-star, I essentially make Ratio a what's it called? I essentially make an entire team already." But it's like he has to directly compete with Jinglu IL, in which both destruction characters can use generic buffers. Both can use Bronya. Okay, not IL, but both can use Ruan Mei, Pella, Hanya, Sparkle, characters like that. Jinglu needs Bronya, but Bronya is guaranteed within the 300 pulls in the standard banner. And so Ratio to me overlaps a lot with IL. IL has twice the amount of damage Ratio has, just because his motion value is quite literally twice. So with IL, if he hits 3 enemies, it's the equivalent of like let me see here, 860 compared to what, 420. Not to mention, even against single target or like against one enemy, again 420 versus 500%. But even better for IL doesn't really have to worry about critting or not because he's given multi-hits, and those multi-hits can cover for attacks that don't crit, and it makes him like a lot. It punishes him a lot less if he doesn't crit. So IL also has a lot better scaling with his kit because he gains ramping damage bonus, which is this. He gains up to like 60% damage bonus. And remember, this is very, very consistent. You can achieve this almost all the time if you spend if you spend 3 SP. Same thing with his skill. He gains 48 crit damage, along with a 24% crit damage against an imaginary enemy. And compared to Ratio, who, where is it? This, where in order to reach the maximum damage bonus, you need to have 5 debuffs. And that needs a super specific team. While if you change targets, uh, this basically doesn't even come into play. And if the enemy has less than 3 debuffs, you don't even get a damage bonus, so yikes. To summarize everything, Ratio, his single hit attacks are cringe. If you whiff a crit, it feels awful. He's Hunt, so his single target is absolute garbage. Pure Fiction is also content that he's not going to be good in. His light cone options are also pretty meh. There's not really any other good options, compared to Destruction, who has this. Not even close, not even close. Ratio also has team limitations to where he can't really use the generic staple units like Ruanmei, Sparkle, Bronya, Hanya, because you really need to debuff them. And especially so with what's called 4 stars and 5 stars. If you choose to put a 5-star to upgrade Ratio, it nullifies his value because it makes him better, but it doesn't make your account better. I would say it kind of makes your account worse because, if you get Ronmei, you can use Ronmei on Ratio, not Ratio, on IL or Jinglu, so yeah. The 5 stars like Topaz and so Wolf again don't really give you your account much value because they're not that good in the first place. Well, they're good, it's just that they're really freaking niche, and it's like, what the hell's the point? And Ratio can't really compete with IL and Jinglu for value or performance because IL doesn't require 5-star support, and he can be used with Pella or Hanya, and he's absolutely fine. Jinglu only needs Bronya, but Bronya's, accessible through the standard banner pulls by 300. Both units are better than Ratio because, again, they can use staple units. And they can also reach their full damage potential, which is something Ratio can't do. Because Ratio, it's very, very inconsistent sometimes. If you switch enemies and that enemy doesn't have debuffs, yeah, well, good luck. You just went like -1 skill point, and you just got nothing out of it. Jinglu and IL will also scale well, considering how absurd their kits are. They're able to utilize their full potential, and they're able to be buffed by generic supports. Ratio cannot. And so, yeah, Ratio's a decent character, but he's not he's not a character that's like gonna give you longevity, right? It's not because he's so niche. He requires follow-up attacks and also debuffs. And Ron Sparkle, I'm forgetting one person, I think. Bronya really, really benefit your account by buffing almost everyone and even towards the future. But that you can't say the same with Topaz or Silverwolf. So, yeah, that's gonna be it for me. See y'all later. Bye.